1. Maryam, Mary. She is alone when the being appears, not in a crowd, not inside the temple courts with witnesses. The Quran places her in a private chamber, an eastern location, away from her people. The figure stands before her in the form of a man, perfect in shape. She does not know who he is. Her first recorded words are a plea for protection. She tells him she fears God and wants no harm. That is in Surah 19, verse 18. The figure answers immediately. He is not a threat, he announces he is a messenger from her Lord. His purpose is not to terrify her. He has come to deliver news of a boy, a son who will be pure. Maryam pushes back. She has never been touched by a man. She is not married. She has done nothing wrong. The Quran records her exact question in Surah 19, verse 20. She asks how this can happen when no human has been near her. The answer arrives without delay. The messenger says it is easy for God. The child will be assigned to all people, a mercy from the Creator. One word, and it is decided. Then the messenger leaves. Maryam is alone again, but she is not the same. The text in Surah 19 does not linger on the months that follow. It does not describe her body changing. It moves straight to the pain. Labor comes. It drives her to the trunk of a palm tree. She is by herself. No midwife. No family. No one in the room except her and what is happening inside her. The Quran records her words during childbirth. She cries out that she wishes she had died before that moment, been forgotten, erased, never known. That is verse 23. A voice calls to her from beneath. It tells her not to grieve. Water runs, dates fall. She drinks and eats and is told to be still. Then she walks back, carrying the child. She walks straight into a public confrontation. Her people see her with the baby. They do not whisper. They speak in her face. The Quran preserves their accusation in 1927-28. They call her father an honorable man, her mother a woman of purity. And then they ask what she has done. They know the math. The timeline does not fit. Maryam does not speak. She has been told to fast from speech for the day. She points at the newborn. This is the moment the text slows down completely. The camera stays on the infant. A baby that is hours old opens its mouth and speaks. In full sentences. With perfect clarity, the Quran gives the entire speech in verses 30 through 33. Not one line, not a summary. The full testimony. The child identifies himself as a servant of God. He states he has been given scripture. He declares he is a prophet. He says peace is on him the day he was born, the day he dies, and the day he is raised alive. A day-old infant delivering an extended doctrinal confession. That is the centerpiece the Quran chooses for Maryam's story, not her labor, not her isolation, not her social ruin. The proof comes out of the cradle. The miracle is the voice. God names Maryam chosen in Surah 3, verse 42. She is purified, selected above the women of the worlds. The text does not ask the reader to wonder if she was special. It declares it, directly, repeatedly. Her body bears the sign. Her silence points to the proof, and the proof speaks for itself, literally from infancy. She is the only woman in the entire Quran with a surah carrying her name. The narrative closes on the newborn's speech. The infant's voice delivers the testimony, and the scene shuts on that single miraculous witness. 2. The wife of Pharaoh. She sees the basket before anyone else does. It is floating on the water. Inside is a baby boy. The soldiers were ordered to kill every newborn Hebrew male. That was the law in the palace. But the woman looking down at the infant does not reach for a weapon. She reaches for the child. The Quran records her first words in Surah 28, verse 9. She calls him a comfort of the eye. She tells the people around her not to kill him. She says maybe he will benefit them. Maybe they will take him as a son. Pharaoh is her husband. His decree is absolute, and she is standing in his house, blocking his command with a sentence. Her voice appears again later, not in a public hall, not in a confrontation, inside a prayer. The Quran preserves her exact plea in Surah 66, verse 11. She speaks to God directly. She says, "My Lord, build for me a house near you in paradise. Save me from Pharaoh and his deeds. Save me from the wrongdoing people." She asks for a house, not a palace, not an escape route, a home close to God. The Quran never mentions her name, not one time, not in the story of the infant Moses, not in the chapter where her prayer is held up as a model for all believers. She is the wife of the most infamous tyrant in Scripture. The text could have named her. It does not. Instead, God holds her up in Surah 66 as an example for those who believe, right next to Maryam. 2 women, one named, one kept anonymous. Her faith did not change the palace. It did not stop Pharaoh's crimes. But the Quran records that her private words to God outweighed every brick in that kingdom. She prayed for a house near God while standing inside the house of the enemy, and the text sealed her prayer in Scripture forever, without ever telling us her name. 3. The wife of Al-Aziz. She closes the doors, every one of them. The house is sealed. Joseph is inside. She approaches him. There is no one else in the room. The Quran records what she says in Surah 12, verse 23. 2 words, "Come here." Joseph refuses. He runs toward the door. She runs after him. She grabs his shirt from behind. The fabric tears. At that moment the door opens. Her husband is standing there. She does not pause. She does not stumble. She speaks immediately. Her accusation is recorded in verse 25. She asks what the punishment is for someone who intended evil against the wife, except prison or a painful penalty. She makes the victim look like the attacker. Then a witness speaks. The Quran says a witness from her own household proposes a simple test. Look at the shirt. If it is torn from the front, she is truthful, and he is the liar. If it is torn from the back, she is the liar, and he is truthful. The husband looks. The shirt is torn from behind. A ripped piece of fabric decides the truth, and her husband sees it. He tells Joseph to overlook this. He tells his wife to ask forgiveness for her sin. But she does not stop. The women of the city begin to talk. She invites them to a banquet. She hands them knives. She calls Joseph out. They cut their own hands while staring at him. She says this is the one about whom she was blamed. She puts the blame on Joseph, not herself. And then she forces a choice. Joseph must go to prison, or she will face public shame. The husband chooses prison to protect appearances. That is in verses 33 to 35. Joseph enters the prison. He stays there for years. In the prison he interprets dreams. His interpretation reaches the king. That is how he rises to power over Egypt. The Quran never returns to the wife after the prison sentence. She vanishes from the text. But her single false accusation, and that torn shirt, set the entire chain in motion. Without her, no prison. Without prison, no dream interpretation. Without that, no Joseph ruling Egypt. The scripture leaves her off stage. Her false accusation opened the prison door that sent Joseph into years of confinement, toward dream interpretation, and ultimately to rule over Egypt. 4. The wives of Nu and Lut. 2 women live with prophets, one inside a wooden ark listening to the world drown, the other inside a city about to be torn open from the sky. They hear the message every day. They see the signs. But something inside them does not move. The Quran gathers them together in a single verse, Surah 66, verse 10. It says God gives an example to the disbelievers. The wife of Noah and the wife of Lot. They were married to 2 righteous servants. They lived inside the household of prophecy. And the verse says they betrayed them. Betrayal here does not mean what later tales added. The Quran keeps it clear. They did not believe. They sided with their own people against the message. Noah preached for centuries. His wife did not follow. Lot warned his city of destruction. His wife was told not to look back. The command is in Surah 11, verse 81. Look back once, and the punishment takes you. She looked back. The same rain of stones that erased the city erased her. The verse says those 2 prophets could not protect their wives from God at all. No intercession, no rescue by marriage. The man who spoke to God could not save his own wife. The man who sheltered angels could not save his wife. The Quran spells out the ending. Enter the fire with those who enter. No exception. The wives are kept in the book to burn away a lie, that being close to a righteous man makes you righteous. The flood climbed over one. The stone rain covered the other. The prophets were saved. Their wives were not. The text does not soften this. Water and stone took them. The prophets came away alone. If this content is opening your eyes to what Islamic sources actually say, subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a like. That's what makes YouTube show this to more people. Done. Let's keep going. 5. The Queen of Sheba. A letter arrives. It is not from a neighboring king. It is from Solomon. The seal is broken. The words are read aloud in a court full of advisers. The letter says, do not raise yourselves above me. Come to me in submission. This comes from Surah 27, verses 30 and 31. The woman holding the letter is a queen. She rules a wealthy kingdom. She has a throne. She has an army. She does not panic. She turns to her council. She asks them what to do. They say they are strong and ready for war, but she stops them. She speaks the words the Quran preserves in verse 34. Kings, when they enter a town, ruin it. They make the most honorable people the lowest. She does not want her kingdom destroyed. So she chooses a different path. She sends gifts, expensive gifts. She wants to see how Solomon responds. That is the move of a ruler, not a worshipper. She is testing him with wealth. Solomon refuses the gifts. He asks who can bring her throne before she arrives. One being steps forward and says he will bring it before Solomon stands from his seat. The throne appears. She arrives. She looks at it. She says it is as though it were her own. The Quran records that in verse 42, she had wisdom before she had faith. Then she is led into the courtyard. The floor is clear glass, water runs beneath it. She thinks it is a pool. She uncovers her legs to wade through. Solomon tells her it is glass. At that moment she says she has wronged herself. She submits with Solomon to the God of all worlds. This is in verse 44. The Quran keeps her as a queen who ruled a nation before she ever met a prophet. She negotiated, she observed, she recognized a sign when she saw it. Her conversion is not a private prayer inside a palace room. It happened in full view. She uncovered her legs, admitted she had wronged herself, and submitted while her court looked on. 6. The mother of Moses. A woman holds her newborn son. The order outside is clear. Pharaoh's men are killing every male infant born to the Israelites. She looks at the baby. Her chest feels empty. The Quran says in Surah 28, verse 7, that God sent something directly into her, not through a prophet, not through a dream, an inspiration. Place him in the chest. Place the chest in the river. Do not fear, do not grieve. We will return him to you and make him a messenger. She does not argue. She does not ask how. She takes a wooden chest and lines it. She puts her son inside. She closes it. Then she walks to the river and lets it go. The current takes the chest toward Pharaoh's palace. Her daughter follows from the bank. The chest is found. Pharaoh's household pulls it from the water. His wife sees the baby and wants to keep him, but the baby refuses every nurse. He will not drink. The sister steps forward and suggests a family who can feed him. The Quran says in verse 12 that they had already made him refuse all nursing women, so the baby is returned to his own mother. She nurses him inside the palace. Pharaoh pays her wages. She holds her child safely while the man who wanted him dead pays for his milk. God told her he would make her son a messenger before she ever put him in the river. She released that chest knowing her baby was not just being saved. He was being prepared. The promise was not just survival. It was prophethood. The mother of Moses is the first human in the Quran to receive direct divine instruction about a future messenger, while that messenger is still an infant. And the text never gives her name. She nursed him inside Pharaoh's palace while the man who wanted him dead paid for his milk. The chest she set afloat turned a hidden infant into a presence inside the ruler's house. 7. The daughters of Shu'aib. A man sits by a well. He is alone. He has walked for days across the desert. His sandals are gone. His stomach is empty. He left Egypt with nothing because Pharaoh wanted him dead. He sees two young women standing back with their sheep. They are not fighting the shepherds. They are waiting. The man stands up. He asks why they are waiting. They tell him the shepherds finish first. Their father is old, so they do this work themselves. The man does not introduce himself. He does not give a speech. He just takes their flock and waters it. Then he walks back to the shade and sits down. This is Moses. He does not know it yet, but that single act at the well is about to change everything. One of the women returns. She walks shyly. She tells him that her father invites him to pay him for what he did. The Quran records her words in Surah 28, verse 25. She says he has found in this man strength and trust. The father listens. Then he makes an offer. 8 years of work, maybe 10. In exchange, Moses gets a wife and a home. The deal is struck. The Quran preserves the exact moment when ordinary daily labor, 2 daughters watering sheep, becomes the mechanism that shelters the next great prophet. No angel appeared at the well, no voice spoke, just a man helping 2 women, and that action gave Moses a family, a job, and 8 years of hiding in plain sight while Pharaoh searched for him. The text does not even name the daughters. They remain 2 figures at a well. Their entire narrative function is to get Moses to the next stage of his mission. Without them there is no wife, no home, and no 8 years of hiding while Pharaoh searches for him. The well hands Moses a roof and work that keep him invisible until the next stage of his mission. 8. The prophet's wives and the Ifk slander. A rumor starts. It moves through the streets of Medina. Someone says something about the prophet's wife Aisha. Then another voice repeats it. Then another. The whole city is talking. The prophet does not know what to believe. Days pass. He goes quiet. No revelation comes to him. The accusers start to feel bold. Aisha does not even know the full extent of what people are saying behind her back. Then the verses descend. 10 verses in Surah 24, beginning at verse 11. The Quran does not whisper back. It speaks loudly. It calls the spreaders of the rumor a group among the believers and warns them not to think it was bad for them. It was bad. It directly asks why they did not bring 4 witnesses. The text says those who accuse chaste women but do not produce 4 witnesses should be flogged with 80 lashes. And then the Quran says their testimony should never be accepted again. The Quran takes a private family crisis and converts it into permanent public law. The verses do not just clear Aisha's name. They establish a rule that any charge of adultery requires 4 eyewitnesses to the act itself, a standard so high that false accusations become nearly impossible to prove. Those who fail to meet it are punished. This is not advice, this is legislation. The text then goes further. Surah 33 calls the Prophet's wives the mothers of the believers, a title no other woman in the community carries. From that moment, no believer may marry any of them after the Prophet's death. A screen is commanded between them and unrelated men. Entering their homes without permission becomes forbidden. A household under siege from gossip becomes a household under permanent divine regulation, protected and policed. A whisper in the market became a chapter in the Quran. That chapter still shapes courtrooms today. Kawind, 8 women or women cases recorded as individual figures in the Quran. Maryam, chosen and purified, her infant speaking from the cradle to defend her honor. The wife of Pharaoh, living under the worst tyrant in Scripture, praying for a house near God and rescue from his wrongdoing. The Queen of Sheba, inspecting a throne that appeared before she could blink, then submitting to a power greater than her own kingdom. The wife of Al-Aziz, whose false accusation sent Joseph to prison, and then, without knowing it, set him on the path to rule Egypt. The wives of Noah and Lot, married to prophets but perishing with the guilty when judgment fell, and the prophet's household during the Ifke, targeted by slander until the Quran spoke and turned a rumor into law that still binds courts today. The mother of Moses, placing her son in a chest and pushing it into a river on a promise only she had heard. And the daughters of Shu'aib, standing back at a well because the shepherds were stronger, then walking home to tell their father about a stranger who helped them, a stranger who would become God's messenger. These episodes keep women exactly where a life pivots: a prayer inside a tyrant's court, a lie that imprisons a prophet, a mother releasing a chest into dark water, a daughter describing a man's strength to her father. These are not background figures. What this shows is how private acts, prayer, slander, a mother's choice, can tip the scales of public life. If this opened your eyes to something you didn't know about Islam, share it with someone who needs to see it. Like and subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one.